Alright guys, so today we're gonna deal with this situation. Making this aftermarket Mudguard fit the bike. So I bought this on Amazon, cost about $70 or something like that. The way it assembles is this kind of fits into the Mudguard, and then it bolts onto this bracket here. So now, few problems with it. Firstly, this bracket here is far too short, such that this hole actually mounts to the axle, and I have enough clearance for this to sit behind the tire. So I will need to make a new bracket. Furthermore, this bracket is very thick and very heavy, which I find kind of redundant, given that not much weight is actually sitting on the end of this. So I'm not sure why they made it so heavy duty. So what I'll do instead of this is I'm going to take some 16 gauge sheet steel, and I'm going to cut out a new bracket. The way I have it kind of planned out is, well, I kind of measured this and I measured what's on the bike, so I know that I need about an extra inch or two of distance. So I'm going to cut this off, drill a hole here. The other thing is the dot hole. This one on the bracket that came with the Mudguard is, I believe, almost 20 millimeters. The actual axle on the bike is 15 and a half. So I'll make this hole match that so it fits nice and snug. Also, this 16 gauge steel is obviously a lot thinner and lighter. It's also pretty stiff, so I don't expect it to wobble around too much. And if it does, I can always cut out another piece, weld them together, make it a little bit thicker and stiffer. But that's the plan for now. So firstly, we're going to cut that off. Then after that, on the back of the actual fender, I do plan on mounting my license plate on the back. Now this is the old license plate holder from the old bike. Too big and chunky and heavy. I'm not going to use this, but instead what I'll do is I'll use this as a measuring template to kind of measure out another piece, like so, which is just this big rectangle here. And what I'll do with that is I'm going to drill two holes in the middle so it can mount to here, and then drill the corner holes so I can mount a license plate on it. And I'll trim the extra metal so that I can reduce the weight a little bit more, and then mount it. Then we're going to mount this one, the plate to it afterwards. Is we're going to use these LED screws to illuminate the license plate, since that is the law. It needs to be illuminated. Yeah, so first things first, let's go cut this guy. Cut the hole in it, kind of get the general shape, and then we're going to go back to the bike and start fitting things a little bit better, drilling the other two holes for mounting this onto it. So this will kind of mount like that, yeah, so let's do it. Alright, so we're in the workshop. First thing we're going to do is cut this metal sheet right down here, just to even it up. Then we're going to use this piece to further drill it, shape it, and so on and so forth. So let's get that cut first. Okay, we got the plate. after a bit of struggling and almost dying, finally have a 15.5 millimeter hole. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this like so. So we have this nice triangular shape. I'm going to round off this edge a little bit, and then we're going to go over to the bike and get things measured out. Need to drill 2 more holes and start mounting things. So finally I have my 2 brackets. This one, the smaller one, I decided to go with something like this to essentially attach to the Mudguard, and I am going to end up using the old license plate mount to then attach it like this. So we'll have a plate on the back, and then we'll put those LED screws over there. The other plate right here, this will be attached to the axle. Then we're going to measure things out properly, drill the 2 holes accordingly, and attach this like this, so that we'll essentially end up having, yeah, come on, something like that with the Mudguard at the back. So that's the plan. So now let's go to the bike, further measure this guy out, cut out the pieces, and see if we can get it mounted. Alright, so after using the bracket that I made for the license plate holder, this is how it looks. Pretty decent, pretty good. We'll just need to paint it black, but other than that, it does its job. So now let's go down to the bike and see how we're going to make the other bracket fit. Okay, we're at the bike, and here's our Mudguard. So we want this to sit pretty much like that. I mean, obviously off the tire, not on it. And our bracket should line up perfectly with that bolt. Now, because I need to still paint these brackets, what I'm going to do is instead test fit it on the parts bike, mostly because I don't have the exhaust on. Much more easy to access here, and set it up onto here. Measurements should be the same. So let's get this bolt unscrewed and see if our bracket fits. So turns out that the bolt is closer to 16 millimeters, and the hole I drilled is closer to 14 actually. So this won't fit. So what we'll have to do is widen this hole. Alright, got the bracket mounted, or rather the hole enlarged. The idea is that this will hold things in place like this. Now, if we look at things, that's obviously not centered, so we need to go a little bit further in. So that means about this much. So we're looking at about an inch almost of spacing. So that's fine. The other thing is, I mean, this is not very stable. So I think I might need to make more brackets here to attach to create some more structural rigidity. Alright, so once we screw things in, that's kind of what it looks like. As I mentioned before, the thing is not centered, so I have 2 options. I can either re-drill these support beams and move the entire thing over, keep that as is, or I can add more washers here to essentially move the entire assembly over, which might be a simpler solution and a lot more exact. But that being said, if this is the center of the tire, and the center of this thing is here, we're looking at almost an inch of difference. So I'm not sure I can make that up here, especially with these bolts, because they have only this much to go. So it might need to be a combination of both. I'll see how much further I can move the entire assembly. And we'll go from there. Okay, so I moved the 2 yellow washers on the back, thinking maybe I can tighten it just to see how much the spacing is, but it's still not enough. So what I've done is I've screwed the 2 bolts in as much as I can, and this is roughly how much spacing I'm going to be needing. So if we pull it, it's more or less centered. I mean, like obviously this is not like rigid enough right now to kind of show where it sits. It's actually slightly to the right, to the left still, but like that's because it needs to be slightly more like this. But again, that's because they're inexactly mounted. So it looks like I'm going to be needing about that much of spacing. So yeah, I think I need to make another one of these plates slightly smaller, round this one off so that it actually looks nice, and the other one I'm going to essentially mount on top of this one, creating more structural rigidity. And we're going to need a bunch of washers for these to push this off as much as I can. Yeah, and then it's pretty much melted. I mean, like in terms of like how it will sit, that's more or less it. Obviously not on that bike, but on this one. So I think that'd be pretty nice. Alright guys, so that was part 1 of getting the rear fender Mudguard mounted. In the next episode, we're gonna hopefully have the brackets finalized, and we're gonna do the wiring for the 2 bolts so we can actually get a license plate on there, nice and snug and illuminated. So thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe, hit the little bell for notifications when new videos become available. Make sure to follow me on Instagram at balkanmoto2018, and check out my website, balkanmoto.com. Thanks again, and see you next time.